The Wedding Favor, Part 3. The tailor's place is in the middle of an upscale neighborhood. The corner shop has a myriad of suits displayed in the windows, and the insides look expensive, all antiques and heavy wood. The clothes are things you'd see on a red carpet, all pretty and definitely expensive. Damien holds open the door for her. He even sarcastically bows a little when she passes. Ella scowls back at him, catching his eyes flickering down to her arse when she's past him. She turns away with a scoff and startles when she almost runs into what must be the tailor. The impeccably dressed young man did not make a sound when approaching them. He smiles pleasantly and nods his head in a slight bow. "Welcome. How may I help you?" Damien rolls his eyes at him. "No need for the salesman act, Frank. We need fitting for a wedding." Ella glances at the shimmery blue gown in the corner of the room. She cannot wear something like that. She'd feel uncomfortable. "I already have a dress. I don't need a new one." Damien raises an eyebrow at her and gives her outfit a pointed look. It instantly puts Ella's hackles up. She's wearing the nicest dress shirt and she knows she owns. There's absolutely no reason for him to look down on her clothes the way he is doing. He hasn't even seen the dress. Something must have shown on her face because Damien shakes his head at her in disbelief. "Is your dress off the rack like what you're wearing now? Because while the trousers are serviceable, they could be more flattering." Ella's face heats up. You can't show up to an old money wedding wearing fast fashion. Anger burns in Ella's chest. "You can't tell me what to wear." Damien glares at her. "I most certainly can. You came to my family to ask for a favor. Are you going to throw my uncle's favor back in his face by showing up to the wedding in a below-par dress?" His voice is low, the threat clear without him having to allude to violence in any way. Ella swallows heavily. That is not what she meant to do. She just wanted him to stop disparaging her choice of clothes. Damien scoffs at Ella and turns to the tailor, who is staring at them with slightly raised eyebrows. He tells Frank, orders him, really, to start with Ella's dress. The tailor nods and jumps to it with admirable professionalism. "I'm assuming the wedding is a black tie event?" It is. Ella had to look up what kind of dress she had to buy on the internet, but eventually gave up and bought a simple, floor-length black dress. Frank brings out a spread of fabrics, each one more colorful than the next, and Ella is starting to realize her simple dress would have been a mistake. He leafs through the samples, dismissing most of them with a glance at Ella. Eventually, he settles on a deep blue piece of silk and hands it to Ella. It's the softest piece of cloth Ella has ever touched. It feels like she's not touching anything at all. "This will complement your eyes and the hue fits your skin." He gives Ella's figure a thoughtful look before he takes out a scrapbook and makes a quick sketch. "I'm thinking an empire waist wrap dress." He goes on to explain his reasoning, but anything past "it's flattering and it's not like that shimmery blue dress" goes over Ella's head. The sketch looks fine at least, but it's still a dress with a flowy skirt. Damien is staring at her, arms crossed and face blank. Ella doesn't want to risk his ire again. "I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm trusting your opinion, sir." Frank gives her a bemused smile and puts a hand to his chest as he turns to Damien. "She trusts my opinion, Damien." He stresses the word she. Damien scowls at him. Frank grins at him. "I've still got your measurements. Shall I coordinate your suit with her dress?" Damien nods once. "When will you be expecting these?" Whatever playful demeanor Frank had worked up disappears when Ella tells him he only has 2 weeks. He's even less amused when she mentions it's actually less because she's flying in early to help her cousin prep for the wedding. He goes back to full-blown professionalism as he put Ella on a pedestal to take her measurements. He mutters under his breath the entire time he works. The added height puts Ella at eye level with Damien. He's leaning against the wall next to them, staring at Ella with an unreadable look. His unwavering eyes make her skin crawl. And she can't stop glancing at him. She wants to say something to break the awkward silence, but she can't seem to think straight while he's watching her. "Do you have decent clothes to wear during the trip?" Ella gapes at his audacity. She motions to her outfit. "These are decent clothes." Damien raises one eyebrow. "Sure, for daily working life, not for the upper class." Damien smirks at his own comment. Ella glares at him. "As if you know so much about the upper class." Ella bites out. The only thing posh about you is your accent. I do, actually. Damien looks away from her, and Ella feels a weight fall off her shoulders. Damien tells Frank to get her some simple outfits, too. His heavy stare returns to Ella before she can answer, and her breath catches. He's waiting for her to react. He's challenging her to say something. The smile playing around his lips is the same one he had when Don Giovanni asked him to hurt Paul. Dangerous, dark, and devious. A chill runs down her spine, not because she's scared, even though she is, but because she is tempted as well. The Wedding Favor, Part 4. Ella gets through the rest of the visit without snapping at Damien again. She's quite proud of that, actually. They make an appointment for next week to do the actual fitting, and Ella is already dreading it. She's dreading this entire arrangement, actually. Damien is turning out to be a very intimidating, unapproachable date. The anxiety simmering under her skin becomes too much by the time they step outside. Ella can't take it anymore, and she whirls on Damien. This isn't working. I think we need to talk. Both of them are surprised that they speak at the same time. Ella waits for Damien to explain, but he's waiting for her to start. They stare at each other for a few moments, nerves simmering in Ella's stomach. Ella is the first one to actually speak, just to stop the stare down. Damien's eyes simply make her more uncomfortable than giving in. I asked Don Giovanni for a date to the wedding because I didn't want to be the loser for once. If you're going to be. Ella motions at Damien's stiff and distant posture. His arms are crossed over his chest again. Like that the entire time. Nobody is going to believe you're my boyfriend. Damien looks down at his crossed arms and slowly unwinds them. He puts his hands in his pockets instead. It's marginally better, but the scowl is still scary. With a deep breath, the frown disappears as well. You're right. Let's get a cuppa and talk about this entire fake dating thing. Damien smiles tentatively at Ella. It's the first normal smile she's seen on him, one that isn't making fun of her or promising pain in the future. It's nothing but a tiny smile that lights up his entire face. It has no right to stir up the butterflies in her stomach. Ella swallows with a dry mouth and agrees. Damien's smile widens, and Ella has to look away to calm her skipping heart. Smiling really suits his aristocratic face. She motions for him to lead the way. Damien doesn't walk past her like Ella expected him to. He stops right next to her and offers her his elbow. Ella is not entirely sure she wants to risk touching the hard muscles of his arm again, especially not now that he no longer looks like the angry, scary mobster like before. It feels awfully intimate. The longer Ella stares at his elbow without taking it, the tenser Damien becomes. It doesn't take long for him to scoff in annoyance and put her hand on his elbow forcibly. The scowl is back in place, and Ella's butterflies decide to leave her alone again. Honestly, you're telling me to act like your boyfriend, yet when I make an effort you refuse to cooperate. I'm not going to act like some meek, love-struck fool while you constantly reject everything I do. You're not that confident. No one will believe that's real either. Ella tries to pull her hand out of the crook of his elbow, but Damien reacts immediately by covering her hand with his. His glare is deadly, and his iron grip is inescapable. Ella forgets how to breathe for a second. Damien's eyes rove her face, and his glare dissipates. His grip loosens, although he does keep his warm hand on top of Ella's. He takes a deep breath and starts walking. The moment he looks away, Ella finds her breath. You're not sending me a clear message either, you know? You constantly look like you'd rather kill me than be in my presence. Sorry if that makes me apprehensive about everything you do. The sorry comes out a tad more sarcastic than she meant, and Damien stops in his tracks to glare at her again. This time, Ella glares right back. See, you're doing it again. Damien's glare deepens. You are aggravating. He bites out between his teeth. Damien straightens his back and looks down his strong nose at Ella. I don't want to kill you. Hurt you a little, sure, but maiming you would be counterproductive to my current job. I do actually want to help. You are simply making it harder than it has to be. And how do you suggest I make it easier for you? Should I be the meek, love-struck idiot to your manly, cool person? Damien pulls up his nose. He's just as disgusted with the idea as Ella is. How about we just lay down some basic rules? Maybe that way you. Damien rethinks his words with narrowed eyes. Ella was already gearing up to defend herself. We can relax a little and at least be friendly. Ella doesn't even think about it. You can't comment on my clothes. Damien's eyes go to her trousers. Not even if they flatter your figure? He smirks. Ella isn't sure if he's making a joke or laughing at her. Damien said he wanted to be more friendly, so Ella is going to go out on a limb and be friendly back. Only if you mean it. Damien's smirk freezes and he gives her another once-over, this time obviously considering her. Your trousers are nice. Damien's smile seems genuine, at least until he leans backwards to glance at her behind. Especially in the back. Ella scoffs and pushes at his arm, which makes Damien laugh out loud. What? I meant it. I followed the rule. Ella blushes. Damien's laugh brings back all the butterflies. She waves off the laugh and looks at the hand still covering hers. What about public displays of affection? I mean, this is fine, I can do this, but couples tend to be more touchy-feely. Ella can't look Damien in the eyes. Damien starts answering right when an elder woman approaches them in clicking heels. Ella? Is that you? Ella freezes, head snapping up towards her mother with wide eyes. This is the worst possible moment for her to show up. They haven't even talked about their fake dating history. And that is the end of this video. Thank you for listening. Make sure to hit the subscribe button for more stories.